things when we check out and write him a check. It says the same thing. He crosses it.
Okay, go ahead, Mom, and
tell congestive heart failure. Yeah.
You might have to write these things, right?
So that's what it makes it swell. There's some congestion in circulation.
Oh, right.
That's right, see?
We went over to Chapman, too.
I got it, hon.
We went over to Chapman to invite.
Sit close to her so I can get in the shot.
Here, I bet you we could both sit on this one, Annette.
Oh, no, Mom, I just want you and Annette's already been in. Why don't you just sit there?
I'm fine.
Okay. We went over to Chapman to invite the kids our age. But the mothers would say, well, can't so-and-so come too? So they'd bring somebody else in the family. Because it was something they were going to get to come out to our farm.
Yeah.
You know. We didn't appreciate what nice place we had. But Dad put up extra swing from the maple tree. Big, high swing. But I remember them hauling me, there were planks, they had a table they had so you could, in the dining room, haul me out, to spank me on my birthday, and they hit hard. I probably needed it.
I need you on that side anyway, because she looks over here and
oh, grab the eraser for me, will you? I want to ask some other stories.
Yeah, if you can just... It's better if she looks at you, Mom.
But Elma was the good twin. I was the rotten one. She'd fight my battles for me. She's when we looked. Mom gave me a spanking because I hadn't gone to the bathroom soon. So, don't hit my sissy so hard. Didn't want Mama to spank me so hard, and I probably deserved it. But you know, maybe my control was no better then than it is today.
That's so funny. Yeah, read the question when you give it to her.
Oh. Tell us about the storm cellar when you were petting the chicken and everybody looking all over the counter.
The storm cellar was down the pig pens, the feeding things were quite a ways from the house and been fenced off. But there was you had to pump water. They had bins, you know. They used to give them separated milk, cattle milk. So they fed them separated milk. Anyway, I remember that girl from Hastings, she'd say, oh, I just love this fresh churn milk, warm milk. But she'd come every summer and finally they were sending her sister over there for a week. But we had met them up at Miller.
Tell about petting the chicken.
Oh, I'll go back down about to get lost. Okay. Well, we were only about 3 or 4 years old. And it was cold winter day. I'm sure I've told you this before. And we just had our coats thrown over our shoulder. But we went down there. There was a hen there. Black hen setting on her eggs. So she could have little chickens. But they had to pack that with straw so they wouldn't freeze or you wouldn't get any water. Well, we lifted the board got loose. Old hen must have got in there some way. So we keep crawling. So we pet her. She was tame. Oh, I don't know how long we were there, but when we come sauntering back with our arms around each other, this Nellie, this lady that Grandpa took to have a companion for Grandma Donovan, but he never did adopt her, although she says she wished he had. But anyway, she kind of run the place. She wouldn't pick up eggs in a chicken house. She wouldn't do things like that. And if there was anything, if Irma dropped any of her toys, she'd pick them up and put them in the stove, burn them.
Oh, mean. That's mean.
Mama said she trying to break Irma with the bottle, and Nellie had put it in the corner cupboard in the kitchen. And one day the cupboard door went something wrong. Irma said, "Oh, my bodily." But I don't know whether. But Nellie had taken it away from her. Oh, anyway.
How about the search
But
party?
anyway, she was shaking us. "Where have you been? Where have you been?" that cold winter day. But it was real windy. But Dad, my father, horseback, and didn't have a car then, had rounded up neighbors. And the wind was blowing from the north. And the Wood River is 3 miles to the south, and the Platte River is a little farther, but it was a big mile-wide river. So one was to go to the road led to the rivers and search for us, or others was to take the barbed wire fences. They had plenty of barbed wire apparently those days. They thought they'd find us stuck in a barbed wire fence, that strong wind. But anyway, we had done anything. We sure got a good shaking. I don't even remember Mama at all. But I remember that Nellie about shaking the tower. Because we had the whole neighborhood. And so we lived in McCook. When we lived in McCook, there was an article in the paper about John Donovan was visiting from Grand Island or Chapman, visiting his daughter, Wilma Roney. And he says, "Yeah, I remember running my horse to a lather, looking for those twins."
What else
I
did
think
I think
it found its way. I think
Indian.
it found its way into the paper. Well, they put everything in the paper. Where Bill, we went out to visit some cousins in the country at Curtis. And so, "Where you been, Bill?" "Oh, petting that cow with a ring in her nose."
The bull.
A bull.
Yes, I don't even go in the lawn. But Bill must have been standing on the thing. But he had a good time. That went in the Gazette. It also put in about Roseanne. She was about, she must have been old enough to go to school, but barely, maybe kindergarten. And the man in the power company, well, he finally retired and went up to light and power in San Francisco, but he's dead now. But he picked you up and he said, "Hi, Roseanne, it's you and I go out and paint the town, hunt the town red." "I'd rather paint it pink." So that went in the paper. But with friends has come to visit us, and she said Roseanne was the prettiest little girl in McCook.
And what happened?
All the rich people.
Pretty funny. I'm going to say it out loud.
Yep.
But when they said,
You didn't
"Where did they get you?"
Tell Pa.
No, she can tell you.
"Where did they get you?"
Yeah.
And I thought it was an Indian baby left off there. Says, "You don't look like any of the rest." I had dark hair, poor Alma was fair, and auburn hair and brown eyes. And here with me, with black hair and 2 teeth out here, I climbed and knocked out 2 teeth. And they said, you don't have hardly any nose." I remember that too. That was a fault. My nose was too short. And I always thought, I just didn't measure up. I guess I didn't. But the Lord said, "How come you were kind of feisty?" And I says, "You would be too if you had everybody bragging on your sister." And Alma was so smart. She could pick out the notes. My mother had an organ, and she was a good singer too. But Alma put that keyboard behind the notes, picked out the notes. So then, they thought we'll have the twins play duets. So twice I played to hear didn't know the notes, but I had learned when I was supposed to play the Papa Mama. That started a trend of duets. And I think if we hadn't been made to play a duet every time anybody came to visit, maybe I wouldn't have got so soured on it. But Alma could, I had to take lessons, so we all on our farm had to have music lessons. If Dad bought a piano, I guess he probably turned the organ in on his organ. But we used to have singing at night. Mama would play the organ, and the hired man, we had one that played the violin. We go in the parlor, you open the doors, the piano was in the parlor.
Oh.
But you didn't, we lived in the sitting room mostly, one with those big shades that had the crystal pendants, and a couch. We didn't appreciate it. Then our stairway was so steep. We used to like to, we had to go to bed at a certain time. Listen out there, and I remember falling down and I lost my balance. But then there was a register in that room right over the sitting room. So we'd wait there to watch Santa Claus. Dolores heard him. Yep, she heard him talking to his reindeer. And we stayed up there and wore our ears out. Probably fell asleep. But Santa Claus always, there was always a cookie or an apple or something that we left for him. And something for him to eat when he came. And in the morning, there would be a piece of coal or a corn cob in Dad's stocking. And we really were grieved to think that Santa Claus would do that. But Dolores, Dolores was over 3 years older. And she could make up the best stories. and how the sleigh and the reindeer things and made that crinkly noise on the snow. We were very gullible.
You were young, too.
Do you believe in Santa Claus till we were pretty old?
Do you
Nobody was spoiled.
You remember this story about the relative that ran home for the baby and the pewter? And they melted it to save the fort?
What?
Oh.
Go ahead.
Oh, that was great-great-grandmother.
Which side?
She had twin babies.
Oh.
That was in Illinois or someplace, you know, when the Indians used to rob them and massacre them. And there was a fort to protect the settlers. But she had, I suppose her husband was in the army or something, or well in this, to protect them, whatever they were. But she had twins, and one of the babies was asleep up in the log. And when they had the warning that the Indians were coming, everybody else went to the fort, took the one baby that was downstairs awake apparently, and she got there, she found out they'd left the baby at home, up in the attic. Everybody was excited. Said she went back there and she gathered up this baby out of the attic. And she had pewter plates around the fireplace. And she put the pewter plates in her apron. And they were just closing the stockade. And she got there and got inside. And she said the Indians were hanging babies by the tongue. Indians they were masked. But she beat them up. So I wrote that story to the Mama. Chris told her, I'd heard it so many times, but Mama wanted me to write to the Nebraska Farmer, the 20th Century Farmer, the Nebraska paper. Boy, I was starved for literature until I tried to read the Bible, and then Mama got me out of the Old Testament into the New. She said it was pretty lurid. Have you ever tried to read all the Old Testament? Well, anyway.
Get hung up on the begots.
Betty Otten wrote down to Lincoln and asked them if they would have a story that had been written by a 12-year-old way back. Shawana Pride. I got a book. And do you know the library had copies of that?
Hey, you're famous. You're famous.
Betty got it. She made a copy of it. So I wasn't lying. But if Mama hadn't urged us to write, the same way when we were about 15, we didn't know anything about the church. We'd have to go down to Central City to Aunt Margaret, Dad's sister, and go and take instruction for First Communion or confirmation because we didn't have any church in Chapman, and Mama made us study our catechism. Well, anyway, we had to write an essay on the Mass. And Mama said, well, write to Aunt Mary Donnelly. I don't even think she was a relative. They were just people come out to visit from St. Paul, Minnesota. They thought that maybe Dad should go back to Ireland and see if a state was left there. And he said, oh, I wouldn't go back. They might find somebody hanging from a tree. Anyway, he didn't believe in looking up old relatives and money. But she did. She was a good old lady. And there was those little leaflets on the Mass. But I guess I was able to put it together. I'm a little bit like Daniel. I have a pretty good memory. And I got
You got lots of smarts.
Scapular medal given by the Knights of Columbus, and Bishop Duffy presented it in the Central City Church. We had to go down there. And when my name was called, well, you know, the folks said they had to go to church because they put these priests that were from Ireland or places like that. They couldn't speak good English. And then when Farmer did come, they'd go after people not coming to church. And I think that they got so they almost, Julia said she complained about it. It isn't fair. Those people need somebody that can instruct them. But anyway, to have the daughter of this farmer that didn't come to church only when the roads were good, horse and buggy, you know. I know Mom would always put our hair up on curls and take out rags, take them out on the way to church. And then we had the carriage with the fringe on it. And we'd put, Dad would have to get out when it rained and stand in the rain and put on those side curtains. Have you ever seen? Anyway, Dad had to, and the moment we'd get stuck in the mud, had to have a horse. And one man on Wood River, they said he just kept that mud hole close to his place because people would hire him to get a team and pull people out.
That's called the free enterprise system.
Early Shylock at either one.
Harney, and I think that we were stuck about 3 times. Dad didn't have much patience. He was ready to go back home, but Mama wanted to see her brother. We got as far as Kearney, and I guess we made it up to Miller. Now there's no Miller anymore. They put a dam up there in Nebraska. I'm through, Lincoln. Anyway.
Let's see.
I gave that gold scapular medal that the Knights of Columbus had given for a prize to Pat to wear on his watch chain. He wore a vest and he had.
Oh.
And there was a locket. Of course they lost it. But then I negligently didn't go through Bill's knickers when he had in his pocket the watch that Pat's mother had given him if he wouldn't take a drink until he was 21. And here, well, that watch went through the ringer. Pat never said anything, but it still haunts me. I've got the parts of the watch that were left. But Bill was a little light-handed fingers. Anyway, sister told about him come all decorated one day, but I guess Mr. Roney, the grandfather on the other side, had been to a lodge where you get those badges, kind of gold. Well, here was Bill all decked out. He thought that he'd won something. And he came to school with that. I don't know what it was for, but anyway.
Show and tell.
He evidently, I don't know how he got into that watch. He also got into, everybody was saving Indian head pennies or whatever. Well, he took our little bank. He wasn't very old, but he went to a sand pile in the next street. And he was dispensing the pennies to his friends. He could pull this. He didn't have a key, but you could get the pennies. Somebody says, you know, he's got Indian head pennies and the bank was missing. We don't have anybody to prove that now. We could tell Bill we want the money.
Talking about Bill, her son.
Yep.
So, yeah, turn off for...
Well, when he started kindergarten. But we lived across from the public school there on East 6th Street. And they had a kindergarten. The teacher was an albino, but a very fine teacher. And he loved going there. So he come home one day and he said he had to wear his best clothes because they were going to have a picture taken. Well, he insisted on wearing high-top boots. His first pair, I think, of high-top boots and knickers. The rest were all dressed up, probably little light shirts and all that. But here was Bill. His picture taken. But he was dressed in these boots, corduroy pants. And the sisters said they thought he tired. He shouldn't go to school. But he wouldn't give that kindergarten up for anything. And this lady says, I need Bill to help me run the kindergarten. He helped her run the kindergarten.
Yeah, St. Pat's didn't have a kindergarten, the Catholic school, because I didn't get to go to kindergarten.
But,
I remember.
Before he got out of 8th grade, the sister was so mad at him because he crawled out the parochial school windows and walked on around the outside. He could have fallen. You remember that? Oh, it was a disgrace to me. I had a bad son. He didn't take things very seriously. School was easy. But I rented rooms and I had a teacher. One teacher, well, I had 3 rooms. I ironed the sheets. But we were paying quite a bit for this nice big house. Do you remember? Oh, no, you weren't born yet. Well, anyway, he got that job from a cook. You know, when you were born. But they had John, there was some kind of an honor at the end of the year. He was supposed to carry some emblem. Well, he didn't like that. Funny, scowling. Armel made him a sailor suit where the buttons come up the side.
What's that say, Mom?
Oh, this is...
Didn't go along with that at all.
Tell about John and his speech when he would say, you know, lup for up and...
Oh. I was happy. John put L on the vowels. Everything was, instead of a you, was long. So it was in the spring, and we had an ice box. It was an ice box because you had a pan of water, a pan for the water with ice melted off at the kitchen. And that was a big day because I'd ordered ice. So it must have been for my dessert. And he walked in there to the lady, all being nice to him. And he says, "We got lice in our lice box." She said, "Lice?" And I just got in on it. She was looking at, did they want to eat in that house? And I just happened to hear enough of that lice. Oh, I said, he puts L on everything. You want to be picked up. When you pick him up, look. And a girl across the street took care of him, and her name was Lemma. Emma was Lemma. Lemma. But we had lice in our lice box. I don't know how long it took him to get over that. But he did. Just like Linda. Linda was it. She couldn't pronounce H, wasn't it?
I don't remember. Is that awful?
Oh, I remember. Linda told you that Geraldine pulled her hair real hard.
That's right, hair real hard.
Yeah. Linda pulled her hair, Geraldine pulled Linda's hair real hard. You could no more get with open the door when Linda say, "Read it." You know, she's such a well, whatever you say, compulsive reader. She just loved to read and learn, which she still does today, like when she sits down to write a letter. You know, did you see her pictures before she went to the hospital with
the Prego profile?
An update on that before she sent it out. But anyway, I don't know how anybody could have so much faith, but it turned out, I told her she's doing too much and she should slow down. And she said she bet she got more sleep than I did, and she was right. And I thought, well, I didn't have any business telling her what to do when she was a graduate of A&M with honors. And all I had was just first grade state teacher certificate. But that's enough of the Ronies.
Okay, why don't you turn it off for a little while? Turn it on.
When Elizabeth was born, well, how was that? Well, where were you when you had that lady taking care of your kids, maybe? But she invited. This girl was learning to be something. She was learning something about. Well, I don't know whether she was going to be an assistant to a mortician or what. But she was living it up there and taking care of this baby. But
I can't tell she's in Texas.
I went over there, and she had just a little bikini on her or something like that. But she had taken the chicken out of your freezer and had soaking in it, a lot of fried chicken. And she'd invited her friends at this school for dinner. She was thawing the chicken. They were to come there. Probably.
When we were house hunting in San Diego?
Anyway.
It's the only thing I can think about.
Oh yeah, the chicken that went in the pot.
All those people.
Pepper.
Oh, and there was this baby she was supposed to be taking care of, too. Yeah. I took the baby home. I took Elizabeth home. Yeah, we had a crib here, you know. But she was inviting her fellow students from this,
can't track that.
She was having a ball. She'd sit and watch the TV with the kids on the floor and roll up her hair. And I said, "How can you see? Roll up your hair." Well, she says, "My head hasn't changed any," so she'd roll up her hair. But she was just one of the kids.
They probably loved her.
Yeah.
But I thought, here's this baby not probably getting changed when it should be, or getting the bottle it should have. What? Oh, I know what you had. You had those where you put the bag.
Yeah.
You bought those bags. I don't know whether you remember or not.
Yeah.
What, chicken in a bag?
And,
No, the
you
bottles.
Put that
Oh, yeah.
into something.
That's right.
And the milk went in.
Oh,
You didn't
yeah.
have to
Sterilize
sterilize
bottles.
the baby bottle.
Yep.
You could throw it away.
Right. I forget what that. That's right. Remember that.
I can remember that when the night she was born, Bob was trying to call from, he was over in Vietnam or some island or whatever, and he was calling Camp Pendleton. And he called in the afternoon, and I said she'd gone to Pat had taken her to the doctor.
Yeah.
Well, then,
Using the ham radio.
extra
Oh, yeah.
that I was down, there was always a washing her to do, always enough.
Can't imagine why.
Two in diapers anyway. And so I would run on the washing machine and the dishwasher bowl, whatever. And Bob was calling, here was Pam Pendleton calling, wanting to know what I didn't have any news from the hospital. And about 10 o'clock, Pat came in kind of blurry-eyed. She's got a baby girl. Can I have a drink? But I couldn't hear. My hearing was, I could hear a little, but it was impaired. And I finally could tell them that there was a baby girl. And Bob thought up, and oh yes, we decided, the children had decided, on Elizabeth Aaron. Or the boy, I don't know what boy's name we had, but the boys.
Michael Patrick, we never got to hear. Michael Donovan or
oh, brother.
one of those.
But they carried through, and so Roseanne got those little Tootsie Rolls and let them pass them the next day with the ribbons
In
in
school,
on
you remember that?
Say
Oh.
we had a baby sister.
Yeah.
She thought of everything. And the lady next door said, I was supposed to help do that. Well, anyway, Mark was the papa.
Got any tales about Paul?
It was about Paul.
The photographer? Maybe they aren't repeatable.
Yeah, it's possible.
I remember that Paul was fair-skinned and his hair was just as white as his skin. And he was short and he'd walk along just like a little judge with Mary Rose. When that was down at Annapolis. But it was the idea we were going to go to to get groceries at the commissary. So we took Paul and Mary Rose with us. Well, there were some dogs there that wanted to welcome, puppies really, to come up. And the kids panicked, both of them. The dogs jumping up in their face, wanting them to lick them. And, well, I don't think we got much satisfaction out of our shopping. We had to get away from there. But after we got, Mary Rose was still in a high chair. When we got her home, he said, you know, those puppies wanted to kiss you. And that's the only thing that really calmed her down. I don't know how we got Paul. I don't know. We didn't have a high chair for you or not. But I remember that we took you two along. And Therese was just a baby.
Yeah.
It must have been.
How about when Paul used to help you sort the wash and say, now this...
Oh, you knew all of their clothes. You know, there was an awful pile of washing, a basket full of washing. And
Or
you
two or
knew
three or four.
That
Yep.
started with Mark. Oh, everybody in age, pile, separate.
Yeah.
So they never need to get things mixed up. If you were Mark, you took from the top. If you were Paul, you took farther down the line. But I can remember, Parapan again, Paul would say, that's Aunt Tweese's. And I thought, how did he know whose pants belonged to Aunt Tweese? But you could tell me where to put, which pile to put the clothes in. He knew. which pile it belonged in.
Yep.
I think that was clear down to
Imperial
Geraldine.
Beach?
No, you had Geraldine next, didn't you? No, you had Linda.
Yeah.
You said you would write the name of the sewing machine on your grocery list. Every time you made a sheet time she
Sewing machine.
every time she made a grocery list, she'd write her sewing machine numbers in her sewing machine. Bob got tired of it. Finally let her have a sewing machine. But she'd make out the list and then she'd put that down.
I remember
So
that.
I remember when she got that.
I got that between
She
Linda
had
and
quite a family,
Annie. Brand
I
new one
said,
finally.
Yeah, I remember that being.
Well, the original one only went forward.
What
Didn't
do you
go
need a sewing
backward. Didn't do
machine
anything.
for? Well, she said so I could go into maternity clothes. Another one was on the way, and I thought, that was Linda.
That's
But
right.
you took this lady home, didn't you? Drive her, Mary Nielsen.
Mayor Nielsen, yeah. She came
and
to
you
visit.
were ready to have her. But they did. Her family didn't want to bring her over. They didn't say they
Yeah.
didn't know the route or something.
That was in Annapolis, and she was
But
visiting.
Bob was pretty proud of his children when we had to have a dinner, and instead of thinking of something using, I think we thought of baked potatoes and roast or something. I don't know, but I remember one girl. She said she made a dip and things like that. And they said, "How'd you do this?" Well, she just a dip, but that was. But Bob was playing, as soon as they'd get in the house, he'd play the Marine Corps hymn. And the walls through, the walls of Montezuma, you know.
Balls of Montezuma.
Close.
He wanted all the Annapolis graduates to join the Marine Corps. I can remember that. And then he took them around after dinner and lifted the kids, particularly Mary Rose with the little doll, up and showed her. They could show.
And we always
They
had
always
to
had to show
have the
Mary Rose.
midshipmen
She
to dinner.
was- He could pick her up and she didn't cry, wake
Yeah,
up.
because Bob was a
But
company
he just
officer.
about
Yeah.
passed out when Roseanne got the mumps or measles or something with the kids.
Who
And
got the
Bob had
mumps?
to do
No, it was the chicken pox. Chicken pox.
Did we all get it?
it. You remember that?
I was wondering if he had it or not.
I don't know
Oh,
if I did.
yeah. Chicken pox.
But I know she had an awful nice
So
neighbor
Paul did have him then.
across the street. They were up in third floor, I think.
Did Paul have
And
mumps?
she said she
and
felt so sorry for
Measles?
Roseanne. She
Measles,
always
no
had
mumps.
one by a
both the
hand,
measles, the German,
and
and
one
the
in her arm or under her belt.
The serious
And
long
go
ones,
to the
not the little
doctor.
short.
the
And so
long ones
she'd
are
take
regular.
one of them. She'd help take one by the hand, or you'd have to go take them to the dispensary. But she'd have a whole bag full of little toys and things, not toys, but things from the plate. And keep them till she could, because they have to go down for their shots, you know. I guess I went once and I thought, well, somebody endowed her with how to raise a bunch of kids, and that birthday chair was really something. When they had a birthday, and you sat in the birthday chair, and everybody brought you your present. And then
Armchair.
after you had your loot, you went around, they had to shut their eyes, and you gave them each a gift.
Mm-hmm.
She
Party
brought
favor.
some little trinket or a toy, a little rubber ball, or maybe something you got to give them. Of course, they would be jealous, you know. But the one who had the birthday, you could give them something, candy corn or whatever.
Your ball
And
was
I
a
thought,
candy corn
however
guy.
you thought
Yeah.
of that,
Candy
it
corn
worked
holiday.
fine. But you got to sit in the birthday chair first.
Remember that it was chicken pox. And Mark brought them home from school. He gave them to Paul. And Paul gave them to Mary
chicken
Rose.
pox.
Yeah. And
You
Annie,
start school.
yeah, Annie was only
Whatever it was.
about
She hadn't
4
had all
weeks
her,
old.
her shot. She
I had to
hadn't
stop
had all the
nursing her.
childhood disease.
I didn't have chicken
Because she was different age. such a jump. 5 years between Bill and Roseanne. 2 between John and Bill. So she had to have
Get it with
some
the
of
kids.
those childhood diseases with the kids. And Alma and I didn't have the measles. We always had everything together. So they could, folks always said they started, whoever got sick first, they started giving the same medicine to the other two. But we had chicken pox 2 weeks apart. But we had the measles together. Mama had a doctor book. And she read that. What was it you got in the spring? Turpentine.
No.
Sugar.
I don't think it was turpentine.
Castor oil, maybe.
Yeah, maybe castor oil.
But I never had them wear that aspidity, that smelly thing. There were some people wore some kind of a locket with strong smelling stuff. It was supposed to keep the germs away. Do you remember that? Well, quite a few of the German ones in the school had them. They smell like the dickens.
How about castor oil? Did you have to take castor oil
Castor oil.
medicine?
Did you find those little drink glasses with the knobs on? Did she want that cake plate?
Oh, I haven't looked.
Oh,
I haven't looked
I
yet.
think we've had enough of it.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know how to turn it off.
Can you shut that off?
I don't know how. Oh, let's see. What other stories? How about John?
Oh, well, I bet you these showing the picture, my feet.
No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No, it's just from the waist up. Let's see.
I don't know what to say about this China closet.
Let's wait.
I'm out of it.
Wait.
I'm
okay.
out.
Playing cards.
But don't show that.
No.
Oh, that was scarlet fever.
Oh.
You had John had scarlet fever.
And what? And
That's
then,
when I got my teeth. I had my plate.
uh-huh.
When you said horse teeth. Horse. That's right.
Well-
Bill caught the scarlet fever. He didn't have it very bad, but he had been playing cards or playing with the door open.
Yeah. With Bill, huh? So they gave it to each other, huh? They gave it to each other.
But doctor, when John had scarlet fever, we were quarantined. And Rosanna had bronchopneumonia that fall, and the doctor said he'd rather she didn't have to go through scarlet fever. And so we called Grandma to see if they would take Roseanne. Well, she was about 3 years old. I don't know if she was that old or not. Anyway, she had Dolores going to bed with her. 7-11.
That's Dolores.
But they said, okay. So the doctor said, if you get out of town before they put this quarantine sign up, it'll be better for that little girl. I don't think she should go through anymore. So they got her out. And so they were only supposed to have her 3 weeks. John was in the good bedroom. And we were quarantined, but Bill was not to go in there. Well, they got Easter jackrabbits and candy, and I understand that the door was open quite a bit, and they were playing together. So it was time to be out from under the quarantine. Bill began to break out. Well, we knew. He felt kind of bad about that because they had to stay an extra 2 weeks. They had to keep Roseanne. But in the meantime, I'd been fit for dentures from here to here. And the doctor, well, I guess they looked at me, sent them over. He says, you should have these. You should have these. Well, he had no business sending them. But I put them in. Great big teeth. And my two darlings says, horse teeth. Horse teeth.
Kind kids, huh?
Well, they felt bad enough, but they looked like horse teeth. My darling. So I told him, I said, you'll have to take these back. Oh, I can't, there'll be germs. I said, you'll know what to do with it. You can soak them in something. And that's where I got these nice pretty teeth.
Good for you.
1935, and they're about to fall apart. I've had them mended and all this and that. But that was sensible. I did have big teeth because they had come in from this fall, you know, big teeth with a kind of a decayed brown spot for them. Dad took me to the dentist and he put gold filling in there. I must have been a man. So Dolores said, why was sufficing? I said, well, you thought you were an Indian and your little sister was so pretty and I was so black. I said, you'd be feisty too. I just got tired of being second rate.
But we all know that's not true because you're not
So
second.
you see, I'm
You're
like
first.
getting to heaven if I get there. Elma's already there. I don't.
Paving the way.
But I know I'm not good enough yet. But that just killed me to have them put that
Mice will turn it off.
through her nose.
Read the
We
question.
bought a car. We even drove a new Ford from the next town because a girl and we went down. There was teachers meeting down there, and the fact that we knew her well, she'd go down so we could take the local to the next town to this meeting. Mm-hmm. And we said to Dad, the girls were out in Colorado, vacationing at a mountain resort in Manitou or something, but the banker's daughter and different ones, and John Donovan's two daughters, Dolores and Irma, and some farm, other responsible farm, they sent their daughters to the mountains to have a vacation. And Elma and I did all the, gathered the eggs. And we just sold them for 9 cents a dozen. And we picked the fruit, the strawberries or corn, whatever thing. We did all of it. Because we wanted some saddle shoes, whatever. But we were there working, and we said to Dad, the Ford had come out. We ought to have a car. Well, when the price comes down, I think he was sorry he said it. Well, I think. So this girl asked us if we'd like to go down to Central City on that train to these meetings. We went. But we were telling this girl, she was older, about the age of Dolores Irma. Oh, she said, I know that Ford did drop today. And I know that dealer in the garage. And the man in the garage at Chapman, our hometown, he used to work for Dad, you know, the farm. Anyway, she said, it'll be all right. So she talked to him, and here we walks out of this garage with a new Ford. Well, this girl drove out, but she's going to teach me to drive on the way home. So I got on, we stopped. She said, now you back up, you're gone. So we went on the pretty good road. We drove up. Me was the one. I'd learned how to drive in the Seedling Mile. You know, every town was building a mile. That Highway 30, the Seedling Mile. And I'd learned at Kearney. He wasn't exactly a boyfriend, but he was nice for these Scotland, so I knew that. We pulled up in front of the house. we said he didn't say anything in there, slap us or anything. We said, you said if the price dropped, we could half afford. You did? We ate dinner. Oh, we said, you did. How'd you get here? You didn't go through that sand by the elevator. It was even hard for his car to go through. Yeah. The girl got off town. She wasn't riding up. But the one that had to tell, we must have been very gullible too. But we got home. And Dad thought he'd go over to pay for it after dinner. Supper was after dinner. But he wouldn't ask how to run it. Well, he wanted the key. It was just like one of those pencil box keys, you know, like this. But he wouldn't ask. And he drove over there and he didn't know. Ask him how to stop. He had to go out in the cornfield, run it dry. But finally found out, but he wouldn't ask him. Well, we said we can drive to school now. Kearney's only 60 miles. He says, yes. And it'll be wrapped around a telephone pole. And in the meantime,
Typical father.
Our number one daughter and Dolores had come home from the mountains, well rested. And we had our saddle shoes. But
No, that's fine.
Irma was cranking this Ford. She kind of sprained her shoulder. And they went over and trained that Ford in on a Maxwell with a Rayfield carburetor. And that was the end of our... But how would you like to have one of your kids come home with a new car you hadn't paid for? But you know, they thought that was a good joke. They knew Dad would pay for it. But it's funny, he wasn't mad at us. I don't know what his feelings were. But he didn't know that we could drive the Lexington when one of the cars, we had to back it out of the garage and we had to crank that too. He was at the elevator and saw his car going over the tracks into town, and so we just let it run in the middle of the street because Mama needed thread. We had a good excuse to go. So we didn't know he'd seen us, and he said, oh, I saw the car. Well, but we didn't, we admitted that we could drive that car too. We weren't supposed to.
Double trouble on the twins.
I don't know how we ever got it cranked. But the thing of it is, that was on the Union Pacific. The fast mail train. Straight through. Union Pacific was the main line across the United States. Across Nebraska anyway. Until the Burlington got into it. But we got up there, we had another little errand. I can't remember what that was for. But we got up there and here was this mail coming. He looked that big coming down the track and I couldn't, and I tried to stand on the brakes like this and Alma was pulling the wheel and we got off of the track and the train went by. We would have been nothing but a little bit of ground up. Now we didn't tell them that until after we were married. It's safely out of their control. So I think we had a lively time of it. But Alma turned out as really a good engineer. Dad wanted a new car. And he was driving us in a Dodge coupe to work. The girls were working. We had jobs. And I think I worked at the telephone company. And Alma was at the music store. But we said, well, we could drive down to the farm if we went the river road. But he went with us. Didn't want us on the highway with all those cars going. I remember driving about. He said, you're a little bit inclined to be speedy. 15 miles an hour.
15.
Alma drove, and I guess she went about like this. He gave her the car. Gave her the car. And Pat and I had just gotten married, and we were riding around in an old spring wagon, and everything goes. So I always felt a little bit secondhand dull. I kind of lost my nerve. I took lessons out here, but I was scared to death all the time. I was driving well. I took lessons, and the guy at the last day before my test took me into Hollywood. Took this and that. On this street we went into, I think we went in Sunset and came back. Well, we went in one of those big streets and back there. Well, we had there was an accident. We had to get out of that. The fire engine. We had to get out of the way of that. And then he told me to take a side street, and he said, would you like a cup of tea? And I said, no, I just want to live to get home. But I was all shot to pieces. The next day, I was supposed to take my test, and I got that car in. Even, that's when you had to park between the posts. And I got it in, but coming out, I nudged. I was being so careful, I nudged one of the posts. So I touched the post. Knocked my, take some more, you need a little more practice. Oh, yes. And we got to go around, and then to come in on that fast street, Rosemead. We had to come there, and I was being so careful, and so I drove too slow. I was remembering about driving